Hello everyone, I'm Gemma Star and welcome to another episode of Man Speak. Man Speak is an offshoot to our Heart Warrior series where some of our Heart Warriors come back and speak for a whole nother episode on a subject they're particularly passionate about, embodied in and able to teach and give knowledge, wisdom, awareness around. Today's guest is the return of our number 82 Heart Warrior, and that is a man who goes by the name of Intellectual Sniper, and he also can be called JC. So he's an author, he's a speaker, he's a real straight shooter. He's very opinionated. He'll give a lot of content that'll make us think and just look into our own perspectives and awareness around certain issues. So really excited for today's show and very happy to have you here. Thank you. Enjoy. Hello.
This meeting is being recorded.
So happy to have you back. How are you today?
Good evening or good morning. One of them. Good morning. I'm happy to be back. I appreciate your invitation again. They say third time's a charm, but I'm gonna say second time's a charm. So definitely feel like we have a lot to talk about since our last meeting.
Yeah. And I re-listened to that last one and it was so good. So if anyone hasn't seen that episode, go back and watch Heart Warriors 82 because there's so much information in that, especially around men and emotions. You spoke a lot about that and you had a lot of great things to say. What I love about you, JC, is you are such a straight shooter. You're so confident in your opinion and what needs to be the energetics between the masculine and feminine. So what I've done today is to go through some of your Facebook posts and print them off. And so we can delve deeper into some of those because you raise some controversial topics, which even if people don't agree with, it gets us to think about it and expand and feel into certain topics, which I feel are really important. But to start with, you named this episode Preserving Masculine Honor in Modern Society. And in honor to that, I have spelt honor HONOR, your American way, because we put a U in it. So to honor that, I've done that for your episode. So what does that title mean to you? What is masculine honor and how is it being eroded according to you in modern society?
Sure. So I think that, masculinity today is kind of being discarded and being minimized. Its importance is being minimized in today's world, unfortunately. So a lot of people look at it as it's an option. It's not that important. This has a lot to do with the technological advances that's going on today and how people use them, right? Communication failures as well. So preserving is about taking something that's valuable and knowing that we're going to keep this tradition no matter what. Despite all the advances in technology, despite the changes that society might bring, we still are going to honor tradition. And that's what the title means to me.
I love that. Thank you. Now, you said about masculinity being important and not just an option. So why is it important?
Well, it's important because you need a balance in the world. Of course, feminine energy is important as well, but you need that yin and yang for it to work. Well, you can't just have one, I believe. Both of them working in balance is what contributes to success regarding relationships, regarding people, regarding, raising children, raising families. And I think just keeping a healthy, balance between just common relationships between men and women, not just romantic, but also platonic.
Yeah, and this is so important because relationships are the foundation of the family and the community. But why is preserving masculinity important in the geopolitical realm? Why? What's happening that, in our in the broader spectrum of planet Earth that, you know, masculinity has been maybe not honored and preserved. Why is it important to preserve it?
Well, I think a lot of policies that are being promoted today are seen as, hey, women can do a lot on their own, and we're kind of testing women's capabilities instead of honoring them. So we're kind of putting them against the wall, so to speak, and we're putting pressures on them that are unnecessary. And I think that contributes to a lot of the stress that's going on. Of course, I don't know worldwide, but I know here in the States, 1 in 4 women are taking antidepressants. A lot of it has to do with stress, overworked, just taking on life's pressures so much. And you have to figure out, okay, why is that the case? I believe that's because masculinity is being downplayed and seen as, like I said, an option instead of a priority. When if we promoted, like I said, a healthy balance, I think we will see that reflect in families and, of course, children.
Yeah, it's so important. The upcoming generation, gosh, they're going through so much already. Okay, so I'd like to go through a few of your posts. And the first one that I've got is, there's a 2-part one, but I'll just bring it into one. It's entitled Men You Can't Trust. Now, this is in no way a man-bashing platform. It's to promote healthy masculinity. So what I'd like to do is, as I read each one, if you could please explain it further, but then give the solution. So if any men recognize this in themselves, we're giving them a healthy solution if they want to try and, figure out maybe why life isn't working for them, or dating or relationships. So let's keep this in a positive spin. That's what I'd like, please. All right, number 1, men that make everything racial.
Yeah, that one got a lot of people angry, or made them feel some type of way. But men who make everything racial, a lot of this has to deal with race being a demographic that's pushed, right? It's seen as a subdivision of, this person might be Black, this person's white, Asian, Hispanic. And so a lot of men today are seen as, okay, well, that's my identity. That's what I have to do it. Of course, we all have a race. All right, that's a fact. But you can't make everything in life racial. So you can't make everything regarding your work, regarding your, everyday public life, your food, etc. Everything's not about race. A lot of things are, but everything's not. So when you make everything racial, you basically you divide everyone up. So how can we trust someone who wants to divide every part of life based on race, right? It's kind of impossible. At the end of the day, we all have identities. We understand that. But the most important thing is, what's your self-identity, regardless of what race you might be.
Yeah. Do you find that it might be more obvious, like in Australia, we don't have as much division, I don't feel. We're sort of all a shade of brown, there's not this black, white, varying shades. But do men tend to use it as an excuse? Are they, whether they're black or white, are you finding that, it is an excuse for only being able to get so far, certain men?
Absolutely. Black or white, today's men are using it as an excuse to fail, or to feel like, hey, I can't achieve anything because of my race. And especially 2023, it's equal. It's like Black men and white men are saying, well, because I'm this race, I can't function in today's society. I can't do this. I can't do that. I have to be among these people in order for my life to, go the way that I think it should. But that's not true. That's not a fact. Like I said, you can't trust someone who divides every single part of their life based on race, because you wear shoes, I wear shoes. Doesn't matter if you're Black and white. You eat food, I eat food. The race part, like I said, race is important because yes, we all have a race, but at the same time, we all go through the same things, you know. So it's kind of like a black father and a white father, if they really sat down and talked to each other, they would see they're going through the same problems, right? The teenagers are acting up the same way. It doesn't matter what race is, whatever. If they really spoke, they would see they're going through the same exact situation. But if a man's so focused on race, then he's not going to see the white father as a father. He's going to, you know, minimize himself and say, well, I'm going through this because I'm a black father, instead of understanding that fundamentally, a lot of times as humans, we're going through the same things.
Yeah, so true. But where does generational trauma come into it? You know, especially let's say with black people seeing white people as privileged, or they haven't been, their past hasn't had the same scars that maybe, you know, black people have had. What do you say about that? How does one heal that if they're still carrying it?
Well, I mean, like I always say, we have to acknowledge scars. We have to acknowledge when some infliction has happened. So you have to know that yes, black people have suffered, right? You know, in various ways. And it's very serious. At the same time, in this present time, we're more blessed than ever to advance ourselves, you know, to do incredible things. And when I see people my age or younger complaining at such a rate, it concerns me, right? Because versus my grandmother, who passed away at 94 years old, she never complained, right? She talked about her father, how he would work for $1 a day, right? And he went through so much to get that $1 a day. He had the right to complain, in my opinion, my humble opinion. So he's the one that pushed forth for my grandma to obviously live her life, and then for me to come out, you know, eventually as well. So I honor my ancestors by not complaining and making real progress. So I can look at the past and learn from it, of course, but the ultimate honor is to be the best man I can, to, of course, achieve what I can achieve to the best of my ability, not sit and say, well, life's worthless because of my race, and make it a singular point.
So powerful, amazing. Thank you. Made me emotional. Okay. Number 2, men who worship physical looks.
Whew, yes. So as we know, we live in a social media era where there's IG, there's, you know, Snapchat, obviously Facebook, things like this. These are great advances, but what come along with them is the exposure of many women, right, and displaying their physical beauty. So with this comes a lot of men single-handedly kind of going along with that. Hey, I'm going to make all my attempts regarding women physical. They're not concerned about personality. They're not concerned about future. They're not concerned about, is this woman a wife? Will she make a good mother? Right? Can she upkeep a home? These things are minimized because it's all about the physical looks. And what happens is when a man makes everything about the physical looks, you simply are just looking to be validated. You're simply looking for other people to say, oh, you have a beautiful woman. Now, of course, that can happen and you will feel good about yourself. But long term, will this make a relationship last? I think we all can agree, no, this will just be something to enjoy. Of course, we are to adore a woman's beauty, right? A woman's beauty is a part of her. But we can't make it so much to the point where we're making bad or rash decisions based on solely beauty.
Yeah, I love that. And also from, well, I was going to say a woman's point of view, but say a personal perspective, you can feel when a man isn't seeing you past skin level. You know, when he's not seeing your heart or appreciating your character or, you know, your emotionality. So definitely, I love
Right.
that. Thank you. All right.
Absolutely.
Number 3, men you can't trust. Men that constantly bitch about women but never have solutions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So once again, in the social media era, what has came about is a congregation of men who have gathered to feel that, well, my, I guess, experiences are validated because other men have went through the same thing. So we're going to come together and we're going to just complain about, what happened with ex-girlfriends or what happened with ex-wives. And once again, you cannot trust this when a man is simply making his life about what was unfavorable to him regarding women. You just know that all his other decision making is faltered behind that, right? So the solution for that is to kind of, if you need to go to therapy, then you have to do that. If you need to talk to someone, of course, but look at, okay, why am I having so many problems with women? What really happened in my last relationship? What happened in the last time I had a real, I guess, detailed interaction with a woman? There's a reason why I didn't succeed. And sometimes what men need to recognize is, don't take it so personal that something didn't succeed, because you might have went on a date with a woman, maybe things went well, maybe they didn't, and you're trying to contact her, and for whatever reason she's not responding to you. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you why she's not responding to you. It could be something going on in her life of why she's making the decision not to get back to you. And so I think men kind of don't need to complain so much about women, because then once again, you're using that as a crutch. Just like the race thing, some men use this as, well, the reason I'm not successful is because, so many women have passed up on me. Which is another dangerous thing. And I'll end it on this note, is that this is why it's so dangerous for when a man is so caught up in trying to be the quote unquote good guy or good man, because he's looking at himself and saying, I'm such a good guy. Why are all these women passing up on me? He doesn't understand the intricate parts of, hey, you need to, it's more than you thinking yourself as so highly, thinking so highly of yourself. You have to actually get to know the woman, see her needs, anticipate that. I mean, of course, make yourself as attractive as possible, but don't see yourself as so high and mighty in this moral throne that you're putting yourself on.
Yeah, so good. And, we can, if we've got time to get through all these, we can get deeper into that. I loved what you said in our last episode about, and please correct me if I'm wrong, be kind, not nice. Did I get that right?
Be nice, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that plays into that part of the post where, when you're doing it because the good guy, that's nice. That's not kind. You're not doing it from the heart. You're not doing it because you really want to do it. You're just doing it, so the girl can give you brownie points, or, so you can say, oh, look at me. I was such a, good guy. I did. And then that's why when some guys get in arguments with women, they say, I did all this for you. I did that for you. You don't recognize, you don't appreciate me. You don't do that. See, you didn't do it because you really wanted to do it. You did it because you wanted some type of reward, social reward from her, or you wanted that validation, or you wanted that crowning of such, so that she can say, oh, look at my guy, whatever. But that's not how she was looking at it.
This is great, because this distinction between doing something from the heart or, purely from the mind for validation, when we do something from the heart, it brings us joy. So we've already got our return, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but when you're doing it from the mind or for need for validation, you're waiting for someone else to give you that energetic return. So good.
Exactly.
All right, next one. Men that are always in life waiting mode.
Yes, and this happens a lot with a lot of guys, where if you have a serious question for them, it's always some type of, they're waiting for it. If you say, hey, what happened with your application for that job? Oh, I'm waiting to hear back. Or what happened with this? Oh, I'm waiting for that. Or what happened with that relationship? Well, I'm waiting for the girl to get back to me so she can say yes or no. It's always something waiting to happen. instead of making it happen, right? Instead of pressing forth, instead of saying, hey, that application didn't work, I'm gonna go ahead and apply to another job. I'm gonna keep going until I get what I need to get. But men who are in waiting mode, they're lazy. So they're the ones who are really literally and figuratively sitting down and saying, well, I'm going to do this one thing, and if it doesn't work, then hey, it is what it is. But at least I can say I tried, but they didn't really try. They put a half effort, and they're waiting for some type of return to happen. But as you know, in life, hey, you can't just depend on one thing a lot. Sometimes you have to keep going. You have to keep, applying yourself. And so men who are in waiting mode, it's like you can never really depend on them or trust them because they put the minimum effort into something and they wait for it.
Is waiting mode more of a feminine energy, a passive energy, whereas the masculine energy is more directive, doing action? Is that why?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's super passive. It's super just like, literally waiting. I don't want to use the word again, but it's someone who's just kind of like, okay, let's see what happens, and maybe it'll come through for me. We never know. It's someone just saying that. Every time you ask them a serious question, they're just waiting on it. You ask, when are you gonna do this? Well, I'm waiting for that. For every question you have, they're waiting for something else to occur for X thing to happen.
Great. Okay. And all right. Men that look at women as equals, you might have to define what you mean by equal.
Absolutely. Okay, so masculine men don't look at the woman as equal because they're not the same. So what's giving the man what's giving the masculine man the boost to protect the feminine is because you're a woman, you're soft, you're delicate, right? So if I look at you as a man, then I don't want to protect you. I don't want to look out for you. I don't want to provide for you. I don't want to cover you, right? Because you're the same as me. So why do I want to extend myself? It's like you have the couple in bed and they hear the loud sound at night that someone possibly could be coming in. And the man's looking at the woman saying, why aren't you getting it? You go ahead and get up and see what's that noise at night. We're the same. We're equal here. Come on now. You know the deal. And the woman's like, dang, I thought I had a man here, but obviously, not. And so he's like, hey, did you go see? And then she actually goes sees the noise. And he's like, so, hey, did you go see the noise? Did you actually find out what was possibly about to take something from us? You see how that works? So that's what I mean when I say that men who look at women as equals actually take away from the woman. You take away from her softness, her balance. She brings some balance to your life. So it's not the same. And that's what, when you see the woman, she's walking into a dangerous situation, you want to make sure, hurry up to secure her, right? She's carrying something heavy in her hands. You say, hey, I got that, ma'am. Don't worry about it, right? Because I see that you possibly are about to drop this. You could hurt yourself. You don't have the physical strength to do that. But if I'm looking at you as a man, even though you're a woman and you're struggling to carry something, then I'm saying, oh, well, you got it. We're the same. Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, so good. That brought back a memory of my ex-husband. Now he is North African, but he if we went to a hotel or whatever, there was no set side of the bed. He always had to sleep closest to the door. And that was the protective thing. If someone was to come in, he's the one that can jump out of bed and deal with it. So that was
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, next one is men that always say, I don't know.
Wow, yes. This is dangerous. Men who say I don't know all the time usually make poor leaders. They usually can't give direction. They can't tell you, where you need to go. So men who say I don't know, it's kind of like they don't know anything because they don't know themselves. So they can't tell you what to do as well. So men who don't know are extremely dangerous, in my humble opinion. And this is not just, we all say, I don't know. So that's a human element. I don't want to confuse the two. There are a lot of times I might ask someone a question and they can reasonably say, I don't know. But what I'm talking about is in the dynamic of the post, a woman asking a man serious questions and the answer is, I don't know. You know, she's saying, what is our plan to buy a home? I don't know. What is our plan to, you know, get from A to B in a vehicle wise? I don't know. You know, what's your plan to get another job? I don't know. So at some point, you know, how can we trust this guy who's always saying, I don't know?
I don't know. Good one. Okay. All right. Yeah. And I guess that ties into men that don't have a plan ever, which is the next one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They coincide together. Men who don't never have a plan. So this ties to, you know, men who you look at their lives and they might be functional, but when you have a closer look, they don't have a plan. They don't have a direction. They don't have execution, right? They don't have something to say. They don't have a map for their life. And so men who don't have a plan, usually they're the ones who always they try to stand in the back of the room, right? All the time. When there's a problem, when there's some type of situation, they're just going to stand in the back because they don't have a plan. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, and that goes back to the analogy of, which I love, with the masculine and feminine of the river. The masculine is the river banks, which gives it direction, and the feminine is the flow, which, you know, within the river banks is the that takes the energy. So together with the men directing and the woman flow. So great, thank you. All right, next one, men that love bomb.
Yes, you know, these are the guys, as soon as you meet them, first date, oh, I love you so much, baby. I think you're the one. I think you're my wife. You know, you mean so much to me. You just met the guy. Yeah. You just met and then this is someone who offers to do extreme things to you. Like some guys, they'll say, you just met them. They'll say, oh, I just want to give you $1,000. You don't got to pay me back, but I'm just going to give it to you. You don't know why he's giving it to you. There was no talk about it. You didn't ask for the money at all, but he's doing it obviously so you like him and, you know, he wants to, you know, feel your love, but he's love bombing you with money, presents, things like that. He's not being sincere about it, right? It's to a point where you might say, well, was it my birthday? Did something happen? And no, nothing had to happen. He's just doing it. So men who love bomb are not sincere people. They're not, you can't take them, you know, at face value. Everything they do, they're going to overdo it. You know, it's kind of like if I might see you in a nice dress and I might say, hey, that's a lovely dress. And I'll leave it alone, right? But another guy might see you, he might say, oh my God, this is the best dress in the world. I've never seen a dress like this. This dress came straight from heaven and he, you know, an angel must have put it on you because, oh my God, this dress is one of a kind. Where did you get it from? You know, it's like, it's a nice dress. Thanks for complimenting me, but you're being unreasonable. So that's, you know, you can't trust men who love them.
Yeah, so good. And I can definitely feel the difference between those two compliments. Great work. All right, men who are always broke.
Woo, man. Men who are always broke. Of course, in life, we all might face financial hardship. I think that's a part of life. But I think men who are always broke, men who always need some type of assistance in the littlest things are not trustworthy. You can't depend on them. This is someone who, you know, every single time you see them, they need your financial assistance. You know, hey, I need to borrow whatever, $100, $200, you know, etc. So obviously, if you really care for this person, you might do it the first time. You might even do it the second time. But if every single time someone's asking you for, you know, money or, hey, can you do this or can you do that for me? then how can you trust them? How can, their life's a wreck. They can't, you can't get direction from them because their whole plan is to ask you.
Right. Great. Okay. Men that are emotionally led.
Men are emotionally led. A lot of men today are emotionally led, right? So this means that anytime something doesn't go their way, right, they're going to overdo it. They're going to threaten you. They're going to, they might feel led to be physical, but a lot of times it won't be physical. It'll just be a lot of yelling, a lot of, throwing a tantrum, and a lot of just, emotions inside that they can't handle. So this is someone where as soon as you say something that they feel is an insult, even though you didn't insult them, they feel like it's an insult. They're going to fly off the handle, and they might say something to you, and it could be something so simple, like they might have a red shirt on, and you might say, well, hey, I see you have a red shirt on, and they might respond in just in a very volatile, well, what are you saying? What are you saying about my red shirt? What are you trying to get at? Are you saying it's not red? What do you? And so it just escalates into something else that you had no, plan for. You were just making a statement, but they're going to take everything personal, which is something really important about men who are emotionally led. Everything's personal. You didn't mean it to be personal, but everything is taken like, okay, you meant to harm me, even though you didn't mean to say anything.
Yeah, I guess that comes down to, dealing with your wounds and your shadow work, which, is a journey that we're all on. It's probably indefinite to some extent, but we can definitely heal a lot of triggers around taking things personally. Great information. Absolutely. All right, I'm up to part 2 now. Men who are inconsistent, everything depends on his mood. I guess that ties into what we just said about emotionality.
That's tied to it. Men who are not consistent, usually what happens with them is what happens with them is you might depend on them at first, right? But then what happens is they'll come through for you one day, but then the next day they won't. So that's why they're not trustworthy, because you don't know what's going to happen. So they might show up to work, they might not. They might show up to the date, they might not. They might show up to the family gathering. Who knows? They're inconsistent. That's why you can't trust them, because you don't know who you're going to get, who's going to show up.
And listening to that from the feminine perspective, that's when we start trying to then shape ourselves to get that consistency. We start walking on eggshells. We start having to think about everything we say and we do, because, either he's giving us some indication that change of mood is dependent on us. And so, yeah, that really shifts the dynamic. Great point. All right. Men who are indecisive, you choose, dear.
Yes, men who are indecisive. Now, this is the guy that he once again, he thinks he's a great guy because he's putting all the decision making on the woman. So he's like, oh, hey, dear, you choose, right? You choose dinner. You choose our home. You choose the finances. You choose this. It just goes deeper. It's a slippery slope. So it might start off with the woman just choosing dinner, but then every major aspect of their lives and relationship is based on the woman's decisions. But in his mind, he's going to think he's doing the right thing, not knowing that he's only stressing the woman out more.
Yeah, and this ties into the nice guy, right? Or the friend-zoned man who never understands why, he's always friend-zoned. He thinks he's doing the right thing because, he's allowing the woman to do everything she wants, but it backfires, right? Have you got anything else to say around that?
Absolutely. He thinks that, and he's so proud of himself too. He's like, I let her decide what we're going to do. I let her make the choice for us. I gave her the option to say, like I said in the post, yes, dear, or you choose, dear, etc. But he doesn't understand that the woman is being overworked. overloaded. She's like, geez, I got to make every decision for us. So in turn, she starts seeing him as her son. And he doesn't think about that until like way later. And then he's going to, of course, be mad, resentful, etc.
Yeah, of course, because when you put that weight on a woman, and you said it, making the decision for us. So he maybe thinks she's making the decision just for herself, what she wants, but she will make it for the both of us. And that puts the weight on, because now she's got to mentally think, well, what does he want? What will, be the best outcome? And it puts her in her head instead of her heart of just receiving, a decision that's already been made. And if, of course, if she's not in agreement with that, what would happen then?
Oof, man, at that point, she's just going to feel like he's just a dog on a leash, and she's just guiding him, through a walk in the park. I mean, of course, at a certain point, I think when the woman's at a overload of stress and she's like, I have to make every decision for us, she turns back and look at the man and says, and that's where the woman shuts down mentally and emotionally. And she says, wow, I made a mistake. I didn't make the right choice. And a lot of times that happens with women too, where their self-esteem is affected by selecting someone that, maybe they were being real nice at first, but their niceness, actually destroyed the relationship.
Yeah. What I wanted to get to is when a woman allows the men, well, is grateful that the man makes the decision. What is she to do, though, if she doesn't agree with that decision that he's made?
Okay. Well, I always say this, it's something I'm teaching and I'm going to post soon about women should express their concern versus demand, right? And what I mean by that is, so the guy says something, whatever he says, and you don't agree with it, express your concern about what he's saying versus saying, well, you need to do this. You need to change that. You need to make these changes because whatever, because now that's starting an argument, starting disagreement, and it's only going to get worse over time. So I believe that, garnering that feminine power is about, instead of telling him what he needs to do, express the need and concern about what he's saying. What concerns you about what he said? You could say, well, dear, actually what concerns me about this is X, Y, and Z. And he can take that information and receive it and say, I didn't think about that. But now that you just told me, now I have more vision to guide us in the right direction that's considering both of us.
So the feminine is expressing a problem that he can find the solution to.
Right. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
I love that. So it takes, the mental weight off her and puts it back onto him. And then he can feel more masculine because he's the one that comes up with the solution instead of being told what to do by her solution. And that's something as women, well, I know for me, as I've gone through this journey into being more feminine, because as a single mum raising my two boys, I had to be in my masculine a lot. It's something I've had to become really aware of. But it is beautiful to fall into our feminine and really learn to be able to do that. And I'm very honored that I've been able to practice. Okay, let's get through these because we've got so much good stuff still to cover. Okay, men who are extremely needy.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Men who are needy can't love you correctly because there's always a hole in their heart that they're trying to fill, right? And you can look at their heart as a container that has a hole in it. So no matter what you do for them, right, it's just leaking out. No matter what you do, no matter how much you can say, I love you, no matter what deeds you do, or no matter what kindness you might show to him, because he's just so unfulfilled, he's just going to be always looking for that validation, always looking for you to reassure him, right? He's the type of guy that says, And am I handsome? Am I handsome enough? And you might say, oh, you're handsome, sweetheart. But he's still going to ask you 5 hours later. And that's just a small example, but he needs the reassurance. He needs like every bit of your energy. You could say he's draining the woman actually. So, this is the guy that's super needy. You can't trust him because he's not going to lead you to where you need to go. He's not going to make you feel safe. And you can't mirror his energy, right? Because it's like, I always tell men this, in consultations, that on dates, women mirror your energy. So if you're nervous, she's nervous, right? If you're calm, she's calm. If she's looking at you shaking and you're like, tightening up your neck, and she's like, whoa, what's going on here? Jeez, do I have to worry about something? But if you're calm, you're smooth, and she's like, okay, I can rest. I feel great, right? He's not needy.
Yes. So good. Okay. Men who lack transparency.
Oh yeah, you cannot trust people, or men in this case, who lack being transparent. These are the guys who they tell you half stories, right? People who, they're not giving you the full details of what it is, right? You ask them a simple question like, where do you work? And they'll just give you like some vague answer that doesn't really tell you exactly what they do. So when you lack transparency, then the relationship lacks trust. So you can't trust men who lack being transparent, because you'll never get to the real situation until it's too late.
Okay. Men who walk on the back of their shoes. No.
Yeah, of course it's a joke, but this is what I call representation. So, we all know the construction of a shoe. So if a man's walking on the back of his shoe, if he doesn't even have, right? If he doesn't even have the decency to put on his shoes properly, how can you trust him?
All right. Okay. So that's what you mean. Do you mean he's slipped his foot into the shoe and the back of the shoe is down? He's not actually walking on his heels.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
He's walking. Yeah, he's on the back of the shoe. He put the shoe on, but the back of the shoe is under his foot, and he's walking improperly on it. And of course, as an adult man, how can you trust that he didn't even take the time to put the shoe on properly?
Okay, got it. Nice one. All right. Men who call women bro. How do you say that?
Yeah,
B-R-U-H. It's an American thing, but I guess it's brother. So men who call women bro. Okay.
Yeah, that is an American thing. Bruh. It's obviously abbreviation for brother, but it's slang. And this is once again just some humor, that if I'm calling you something that's meant for a man, then I'm looking at you like a man, right? This goes back into about the equal thing. I'm not going to do for you because I look at you as the same as me. So that's why I'm going to put minimum effort, because we're the same. Why should I go out all out and put effort into you? We're both men. Energetically, we're both men. So I'm calling you bruh, bro, brother, right? You're a whole woman, but I'm calling you something that's meant for a man. So you can't trust that.
Yeah. And as a woman, that doesn't feel good at all, that, personally. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip a couple, but the last one on this list is men who always say, but women do it too.
Once again, equalism as well. This is the guy who he will never take charge as the leader, because any situation, if you say men do this, he's going to say, but women do it too. Like if we're talking about husbands cheating, instead of just sticking to the topic, he's gonna say, but women cheat too. It's like always something else added to it that he's never focused on the topic. He's always distracted by something else.
Yeah, that's not taking ownership, right? It's always like leaky, like someone else does it, so I can do it too, instead of taking ownership for my path.
Absolutely. Right. Making excuses.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got some one-off statuses here, which I'd like to dig deeper into, and I put a couple of them together. So here I've got two that are sort of the same subject. I'll read both of them and let's dig into these. All right. The woman doesn't come ready-made. You have to mold her. If she admires you enough to be molded, it will work. And then, if you don't mold your woman, she becomes the man she thinks she wants and treats you like the woman she wants to be.
Absolutely. A lot of tension here, right? But essentially, a lot of times men make the mistake of thinking that a woman that they're interested in is already ready-made, that she should, or a lot of men make the excuse of saying, well, she should already know what to do. She should already know, but she doesn't know what to do. She just met you.
Yeah.
She just met your personality. I'm sorry, say again.
And every man is different, right? So maybe what worked for her last relationship wouldn't fit the vision of a new man. Please continue.
Absolutely. You got it. Absolutely. Right. So one man might be a mechanic. One man might be a businessman. Right. One man might be a bus driver. One man might be a painter. These men have different visions for their life. They're living different lifestyles. They wake up at different times in the morning. Right. So to say that the woman fits all is a big mistake. Right. So that's why when you meet the woman, you have to lead her, you have to mold her to the vision that you have. Now, of course, this is her surrendering to that vision and saying, I, respect this man enough to want to fit into the vision. Right. But once she have said that, it's up to you as a leader to say, okay, now I can mold her like she's clay, and you're molding her to show her, this is what I need done. This is what I need you to do. This is how we are going to, coexist and live in harmony together. When you don't do that, there will be no harmony, because you're automatically thinking that the woman should know everything. Oh, she should already know this. She should already know that. But she doesn't know. And a lot of men make this mistake, thinking that they're so masculine because they got the job or they got some type of benefits, and that's great, wonderful. But one of the most masculine things you're going to do in the relationship is mold the woman to the vision that you have and show her in vivid detail, this is what I need you to do so that we are on the same page. Because a lot of women are waiting for men to explain a vision. How can she know what to do if you don't explain?
And this, we could go into so many layers here, because one, the definition of molding is interesting, but it has to come from a healed, healthy, masculine heart and mind, right? Mm-hmm. Because once it becomes control, or molding is said in done in a disrespectful or verbally abusive way, it changes the whole thing. And again, for the feminine, for a woman to be able to see it from a loving perspective instead of a controlling aspect, there needs to be healed hearts on both sides, right?
Absolutely. Definitely. You have to do it from a healthy standpoint. So I always say that the masculine is always going to give the feminine a choice. And what I mean by that is he's going to present, and then the feminine is going to receive that, whatever he's presenting. But she doesn't have to do it, right? But that's what's making her want to do it, is because from a healthy place, he's presenting, saying, hey, this is what I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I embody. If you want to be part of this vision, here I am. Versus the guy who's lacking masculinity, he's, like you said, controlling. He's saying, no, you must do this. You must do that. If you don't do this, then we're done. We're over. Or I don't want nothing a part of you. Or that, and that's part of seeking some false perfection, right? Which goes back into the status about molding. See, the masculine already knows that you're not perfect, and that's okay. That's fine, right? That's why I'm here to mold. That's why I'm here to correct. This is why I'm here to lead. This is why I'm here to love. This is why I'm here to show you the way. Versus the other guy, no, you should already know how to do it. You should already know what needs to be done. You should already know whatever. But like we keep saying, every man's different. Every man's lifestyle is not the same. Every vision is not the same, right? So it's impossible for a woman to go to 5 different men and expect the same thing. Like each experience is going to be different, but it's up to the man to recognize that. That's the real love.
Yeah. So how important is it for a man to have his vision first and then find the woman who is going to be able to work, fit, flow, be molded into that vision?
I think it's superior. You should have the vision before you meet the woman, because if you meet the woman, see, that's the thing. If you meet the woman before having a vision, then that's the expected perfection that's not there, right? You're going to expecting her to do so much because you don't have a vision. So you're going to be like, okay, well, we're here, we're together. Well, what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to already know what to do. Versus when the masculine is approaching with the vision, it's easier to mold you because I already know what I need you to do. When I don't know what I need you to do, then it's impossible to have a healthy relationship.
So what happens with women who have their own vision? Like, how can that work? Because many women these days have got an idea of what, they want to do in life as well. They've got a particular, maybe, creative talent or something. How can a woman have do what she wants to do as well while fitting into the vision of the man?
Well, it's a great question. What I always talk about is that each man's different. So you might meet one man and your vision definitely is not going to be done with him for whatever reason, right? But then you might meet another man and you two are compatible to where your vision is not minimized. So I'm always encouraging date based on compatibility instead of convenience. That's what a lot of people do today. They date on convenience. So this person's here, this person has what I think I need right now, so I'm gonna go along with it instead of basing it on compatibility. Long-term compatibility is what women should be looking for, especially if you have an exact vision, right? Like you might, I don't know, want to be a ballet dancer. Well, stop. You can't date a guy who don't support ballet, don't care about it, who's like, I don't care about this have no interest in me, right? But the next guy, he might have a love for ballet. So he understands the certain things you might need so he can still be the leader in your life and still say, hey, this is how you can fulfill your vision. So compatibility versus convenience.
So good. Okay, so I think we've covered the molding of a woman. Let's go on to the next one. Again, okay, so the next one I've got is your definition of provision. He can provide, he wants to provide, he does provide not just money across all things she needs. And then, so let's start with that, please. Defining provision as more than just financially.
Right, absolutely. So obviously finances have a major part to do with relationships and making sure that it goes successfully. But you have to be there for your woman physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And this is also contributing to the financial part of it. So all that combined equals provision. A lot of people think provision is just obviously the finance part, and then all those other things are lacking. So you might have a guy, okay, he can pay the bills, excellent, wonderful, that's a great thing. but he doesn't know you emotionally. He's not in tune with you spiritually. He doesn't know your body, right? And he definitely doesn't really know anything about what you're capable of mentally, right? So this is why provision is all those things in one, and why I said he wants to provide, right? That's important, because sometimes women meet a man, he can provide, but he doesn't want to. Right? Right? Or sometimes you might meet a guy he wants to provide, but he can't. So the three things together, along with those things, equal the provision.
Yeah, I love that. And I love clarifying that, because many men and women see provision as just financially, but it's so much more than that. It's the whole, everything that, she needs on all, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as you said. Now, another one which I think ties in is in his restriction for her. And then you've got is protection, pleasure, safety, immunity, instruction, structure, conviction, and ownership. What does in his restriction for her mean?
So that's mainly tying to the protection of the woman, right? Because a lot of times in a lot of relationships, the guy, once again, thinks he's a great guy because, the woman can do whatever she wants. So there is no restriction. So that guy, he said, oh, you can do whatever you want, whatever, So what happens is the woman says, okay, but then she starts getting into a lot of chaotic situations that brings a lot of heat at home. So when she does that, now the guy's like, he's upset, he's angry. Why did you do this? Why did you put us in this situation? But versus the opposite, if you restrict the woman, that is freedom, right? Because what happens is when the woman's protected, she's able to roam freely. She's able to feel more with herself, right? Because in restriction, it's kind of like, I'm telling you not to do this so that you can be preserved, you can be saved. You don't have to be open to being hurt physically or mentally or whatever. You don't have to cause chaos. You're protected.
Yeah, because I guess you're considering the whole couple family dynamic. As you said, she might be going out, and bringing that emotional drama home or something. So it's the man's protection to try and contain that and minimize it. Is that right?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. I've said this example before in a podcast where you might have a wife or a girlfriend. The husband might say, hey, don't go to that particular spot or club or part of town. And she might not like that. He'd said that. She might say, well, why? He says, because I know that's a dangerous place. You don't need to be over there. There are bad people, right? And she might say, okay, I won't go. Versus the other guy, his girlfriend can just go over there. Well, if something happens that's unfortunate, then she's going to bring that, whatever that situation might happen, she's going to bring that back home. So whether it's drama or unfortunately something physically hurting her, because the man didn't put restrictions on the situation, it's brought more chaos to everyone.
Yes, got it, love it, thank you. Okay, let's get into some more. So I've got a couple of these joined together. Let's see how we go. Stop asking God for a good man. Ask him for a dominant man that you're sexually attracted to that will put you in your place. And then we've got, don't ask God for a real man, then get mad when he keeps it real. Many women don't really want a masculine man. And this one, you think you want a nice guy, but you're really wounded. You need to be grabbed by the neck and thrown on the bed. Real love is being gentle with her, patient, kind, and understanding. It's also loving to know when it's appropriate to tell her to shut the fuck up.
Which one?
Oh, well, all right, let's start with this one. You think you want the nice guy, but you're really wounded. You need to be grabbed by the neck and thrown on the bed, in the bed.
So absolutely. A lot of women think they want the nice guy, right? It's like, oh, I want this nice guy, but it's really, you want the nice guy to control him because you're afraid of the masculine, right? You think you like this guy that's gonna let you run over him, let you do whatever, say whatever, act like whatever, but you only do that because you haven't been with a masculine man. That's the only reason you think you want a nice guy. Because if you actually came into a real masculine man, you would say, whoa, this is what I really needed. This is what I really needed to encounter and experience. But when you haven't experienced that yet, then you're just going after nice guys. Now, the thing is this, a woman will be afraid of a real masculine man and she'll keep dating the nice guy only to get frustrated with him and say, this is not what I really want. This is a weak man. This is someone who doesn't know what he's doing. And unfortunately, she'll break up with him and she'll still say, well, I just need to meet the right nice guy. Instead of admitting that there's no right nice guy. That's the whole thing. There's no right nice guy. Doesn't matter if you go on to the next guy and you say, oh, he's nice. He's going to be nice until you realize I'm not really attracted to him. See, a lot of women, they lose attraction to a guy and they don't know why. They don't know why. It's because he was weak from day one. So imagine by day, I don't know, 300, you are sick of him. You're like, oh, okay, I can't do this anymore. So that's why, hey, you think you want the nice guy. You don't really want him.
I love that. So let's make some distinctions here because, you know, a lot of women have been through some level of abusive relationship. So when you say real love is being gentle with her, patient, kind, and understanding, well, we all get that. But it's also loving to know when it's appropriate to tell her to shut the fuck up. So when is it appropriate to tell her that?
Well, I think when she's being too influenced by the outside world, whether that's friends, family, you know, coworkers, colleagues, when she's being too influenced by them and she's bringing that chaos home, right? I think that's a time. And a lot of times, and when I say shut the fuck up, first of all, a masculine man is not going to be saying that all the time. It's going to be rare, right? And when he says it, it's going to be with power and authority, and it's going to be in a real situation where she knows, okay, she needed to be calm. You needed to see some force from the man, where he couldn't just be, okay, sweetie, okay, sweetheart, whatever you want, whatever you say. No, that's not going to get it done. So she needed him to be forceful because she has stepped out of containment and caused some type of chaos or unnecessary argument or some type of situation where the feminine and masculine dynamic is now not online for harmony.
Yeah. And again, you know, if this is coming from a man who operates from the heart, that she trusts his, you know, his container, you know, as it's called, it's a lot easier to hear than a man that's, you know, not contained that way and it's just sort of verbal abuse. There's a big distinction, isn't there?
Absolutely. So the man who, first of all, the man who's always yelling at you, he's out of order. And like I said before, a man who might tell a woman, shut the fuck up, he's going to rarely say it. But if a man's always saying it, once again, out of order, that's not healthy. That's not from the heart. That's not from, you know, a great place. That's just from an abusive place, abusive power. So that's the difference. You know, an unhealthy man will be saying it on the regular, often. And that's how you'll know, okay, this guy's not the real deal, because he obviously feels compelled to always try to use his power.
Yeah, so good. And you sort of wrap that up by saying, stop asking God for a good man. Ask him for a dominant man that you're sexually attracted to that will put you in your place. I guess that wraps up. Great, love it. Yes, I'm all in agreement for that. Okay, let's get into sex. All right, so the three I've got here are trust, sir. She likes sex. She doesn't like you. And that goes with women are submissive. They just don't want to submit to you. Oh, let's touch on those two first. I think they sort of wrap up in one conversation. So, a man's complaining that a woman isn't there for him sexually or doesn't want to submit to him. And again, I went back and I listened to in our last conversation, we did discuss the difference between a submission and surrender. So I don't think we need to go into that today, but basically we were saying it's different levels of depth of understanding. And so you use submit because more people can relate to its meaning.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, would you like to get into that? She likes sex. She doesn't like you. Women are submissive. They just don't want to submit to you.
So when you see men complaining about not getting sex, or maybe their girlfriend is not giving them the amount of attention, sexual attention that they think they deserve, that's based on he's not in tune with her, right? He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to turn her on. He doesn't know how to switch her knobs, as I say a lot too in consultations. And a lot of times when you're so focused on your want, your desire of sex, you start looking desperate, which is turning the woman off even more. You start looking needy, which is turning off the woman even more. So these are things that men are not cognizant of that they do. And then they'll complain about it openly or privately to say, oh, I'm not getting the sex I think I should get, or I think I'm doing everything right. Or once again, I'm the good guy. Why am I not having sex? We should be having sex everywhere, but you're not turning her on for that to happen. So you're out of tune. Now, the part about the submission is a lot of guys complain publicly. Oh, these women today don't submit. They don't do this. They don't do that. Once again, you're not in tune with your masculinity, because if you were, women would submit to you. Women would listen to you. Women would want to follow you. Women would want you to be their leader. Women would actually express that to you. But because you're so, once again, men who complain, men who bitch about women, can't trust them. So the woman can't trust you. That's why she's not going to submit to you.
So good, yes. And while we're on the subject of sex, the mental sex you initiate outside the bedroom inspires his dominance in the bedroom. Flirt sexually, heavy with no shame.
Absolutely. This is obviously more for the women. And a lot of women, when they might, the man might be doing something that turns them on. He might be doing something that sexually pleases them a lot, and the woman will just enjoy it and go on about her life or whatever. But I'm encouraging her in that post that you need to inform him verbally, hey, this turned me on when you did this. When you did X, Y, and Z last night, it really turned me on. It really got me hot. It really got me going. And now he's informed of that, so he can do more of that. He can even have the mind to master that because he knows it turns you on. Sometimes women feel shame in expressing that to a man because they don't want to feel whatever. Like, oh, I'm going to be, I guess, blunt here and say they don't want to feel like a slut or something like that, or language like that. But expressing something that turns you on, something that pleased you, is not, you shouldn't be ashamed of that. You shouldn't be ashamed of that at all. So that's what I was saying to the women, that you should shamelessly flirt sexually often.
Right. And, for women, foreplay is a 24/7 activity, right? So, you can't, for me, the man can't be grumpy all day and then, in a untrustworthy state, going back to some of those examples that we started with, and then expect a woman to be turned on. It's how the man is throughout the day that turns the woman on, ready for, you know, to be ready 24/7. If he's in his masculine 24/7, she'll be ready 24/7, right? Because that's what turns her on, how the man lives his life, not just how he touches her physically. She gets turned on by him being in his masculinity, healthy masculinity.
Absolutely. I have a post that maybe you saw, maybe you didn't, where it's part of my book, and I say everything is sex.
Yes.
So
yes,
you can add this to that and say how the man walks is sex, right? How the man wears his clothes is sex, right? How he speaks to the woman is sex. How he hugs the woman is sex. How he anticipate whatever needs she had for that day is sex. So all that combined is making her in the mood for later.
Definitely. I love that, and it's so true. Okay, all righty. What have we got here? All right, we've got, you don't want a feminine woman, sir. You want a strong, comforting half provider to bring to the table a pretty man.
Right.
And then I've got, you modern women love masculine women that spoil you and take you to dinners, but thinks making a sandwich is beneath her. When you view yourself automatically as the leader of women, you move differently. When you compare yourself to them, you blame. All right, maybe just the first couple about, going back into men who, I love this one. Okay, so modern men love masculine women that spoil you, take you to dinners, but thinks making a sandwich is beneath her. Let's get into this one.
So yeah, this is about the guys who, they love being taken to dinner. They love being taken shopping. They love being spoiled. They love, that the woman will spend X amount of money on them. But then something as simple as making a sandwich, she's like, I'm not making you no sandwich. You're out of your mind if you think I'm gonna make you a sandwich. Get out of here. And the guy's confused. He's like, what? Like, you'll spend dinner on me. You'll take me to this fancy restaurant. You'll get my nails done, but you won't make me a sandwich because that's beneath you. He doesn't understand the dynamics of the masculine and feminine working together for that to happen. So he's perplexed, and that kind of adds to the anger down the line, or resentment that he feels of saying, wow, I have a woman that will spend God's amount of money on me, but she won't even make me a sandwich inside a home.
But is that a woman more in her masculine energy? I mean, I don't have a problem making a sandwich for a man, it's like, it's coming from the heart, whereas it's, so please, yeah, is that a woman more in her masculine?
Oh, she's definitely in her masculine energy. She's very deep into the masculine energy. She doing something from the heart, like making a sandwich, is seen as that, even though that would, probably make her feel more feminine, she doesn't want that. So she resists that. And so she just rather spend money like a man on her man.
Yeah, and great distinction how you've got that. She's willing to provide the expensive dinner, but, the thought of making a sandwich, maybe she feels is beneath her. So good. All righty. This is interesting. Falling deep in love is for women. What keeps her in love is the unwavering strength, confidence, trust, and focus of the man.
Yes. A lot of people did not agree. So the falling in deep in love is for women. It's not for men. The woman looks up to the man. So when you have two parties who are falling deep in love with each other, it's kind of like two people in a car and they're looking at each other instead of the driver looking on the road. And so what happens is, when the man's so deep in love, he's like a driver looking at you when he should be looking at the road. Maybe you're looking at him, right? It still works out, right? Because you're still being drove safely, provided for safely, covered safely, etc. But when he's deep in love and he's just looking at you and he's starting to, now I also said this in one of the comments, that when the man's deep in love, he starts to look at you as a deity. He starts to look at you for answers for his life. So you as a woman start to diminish because he's not looking at you as a woman. See, when he loves you correctly, he looks at you as a woman. This is a woman I have to protect, I have to provide, I have to cover, etc. But when he's deeply in love with you, he's not looking at you as a woman. He's looking at you as a deity, almost as a god. So now he's saying to himself, well, since I'm looking at you as a god, I expect for you to have the answers, right?
Yeah.
Why am I, why am I doing whatever I'm doing? You should have the answers because I'm literally looking at you as the person that should have the answers.
So how does a man express the ultimate depth of his love? Like, in a loving couple, you say that, a man can't be deeply in love for this reason, which I totally get. But does he show that love in other ways? How would a woman know if he was, fully in love with her?
I mean, it's you can definitely express your love for your woman. I even say in one of the comments, you should definitely love your woman. But there's just a difference between loving your woman and being deeply in love with your woman. There's just a big gap. You can definitely express, how you feel about your woman. You should do that. That's healthy. I would say the number one of the top ways is just being consistent. Consistency definitely shows and proves that a man loves you because he's going to consistently perform, be on top of things. He's going to consistently provide for you, show provision in a number of different ways. Like I said, spiritually, emotionally, financially, mentally, physically. So those things, doing it consistently, in my opinion, is how he, shows the depth of his love.
Yeah, I like that too. And I like this too. The only way a relationship works is if the woman looks up to the man. Otherwise, it's just two placeholders passing the time. And from my experience as the woman, once you lose respect for a man, I don't think you can get it back. And that's when things just go downhill.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once the respect is gone, that's it. The woman starts counting down in her head the end of the relationship. She starts knowing like, okay, I can't trust this guy. I don't respect him for whatever reason that might be because he's doing whatever wrong. So therefore, I have to start self-preserving, right? I got to start looking out for me because I don't know what he's going to do. I can't trust his actions, and this happens once again back to the previous topic about being deeply in love, where the man he starts doing, see, like a man deeply in love, he'll do something crazy like he'll take all the money out of the joint savings account and spend it on you and buy something that you didn't want, right? And then you're like, why did you do that? Why, and he's gonna be like, but this is my love for you. I'm showing my love for you, right? Versus a masculine man who loves you wouldn't do that. That's the difference. But anyway, back on this topic, that once the respect is gone, see, when the woman is looking up to the man, there's order. When she's not looking up to the man, then she unfortunately has to become her own man.
It's so true. I love it, love it, love it. And of course, that respect for a man is the turn on as well, when he's,
Mm-hmm.
living his mission and living in integrity and, a good balance of heart and mind. That is the respect and the turn on. And if a man can hold that, he will always have his woman there respecting him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Great. Okay. All right. Feminine women and masculine men want to be vetted. them other kind want to be exempt. And we know what them other kind are.
Absolutely. You know, masculine men and feminine women, they don't mind being transparent. They don't, it's nothing to hide. There's no guesswork in masculinity. You know what you're getting. You know what's trying to approach you. You know what they're trying to accomplish. It's like when a lot of times when you see women tell you about a masculine men approaching them, it's like they just knew. The energy told you, like, okay, this could be a good guy. This could be a great guy. Yeah. This could be the guy for me, right? There was no guesswork. So when he said, you know, I want to take you out, and this is the restaurant I want to take you out at 8:00 Friday. You're available? You know, let's do it. I took out the guesswork. You're not guessing what restaurant. You're not guessing the time. You're not guessing the day. I'm taking that's masculinity, right? But them other kind, you're guessing when, where, how, what, where. You know, the list goes on. There's a bunch of guesswork. It's all guesswork. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And this topic of transparency for, you know, well, from the feminine point of view, I'm guessing it's similar for the masculine. When you can heal yourself enough to know that you have made mistakes in your past, but, you know, you've forgiven them, you've healed from them, you've learned from them, and you can be transparent with, you know, the right person. It's freedom. It's such a space of freedom to be able to be in that space where you've got nothing to hide.
Absolutely, definitely. When you have nothing to hide, the person kind of feels closer to you so that they can reveal whatever's necessary as well. But when you got two people who don't trust each other, there's a reason. They're both in shadow, likely. They both are operating from a place of mistrust. That's why, you know, I wrote the post like that, because the masculine and feminine, hey, vet me. I'm gonna put a sign on my head that says vet me, because I know what I know what I am. I know what I'm bringing. So I don't have to hide anything. But, you know, when you're not online like that, then yeah, everything is a guessing game. Everything's like it might happen, it might not happen. He might show up, he might not show up.
Yeah, and just to have that level of honesty between two people is so powerful, right? You know, to never have to be in the position where you would even consider being dishonest or lying. That's so powerful.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, all right. We've got about 5 minutes left, JC. I've got this is good. And I agree with this one too. So many women are not ready to be wives. They are just eager to be gorgeous at a wedding. And I've always said this, that a lot of women are more focused on the actual getting married, ticking it off the list, planning a fairy tale wedding that, you know, they've had in their head since they were conditioned at, 3 years old. And, you know, they don't take into consideration what is actually needed to keep a marriage going for 50 plus years. Well, a lot of us were very naive going into marriage, and me definitely. So what have you got to say about that?
Absolutely. So for a lot of women, the wedding, well, I would say this, the getting married part is kind of just seen as, like you said, the to-do list. Like, I gotta check this off. This is something that validates me as a woman. And so that's why I gotta make sure it happens. So if you really look at it, getting married is a whole process. It's the proposal, then you gotta announce it, then you gotta prepare, the invitations and the venue, all that stuff going on. So I wrote in the comments that for a lot of these relationships, what's carrying it is the process of getting married. That's what's carrying the relationship, the process of getting married. But once you're married, there's all that crowd, they're gone. It's just you two.
Yes.
So you got to do the work now. And so getting married is one thing. Being married is a whole nother thing. Yeah. And that's work. That's commitment, dedication. You know, two people definitely looking at each other and saying, okay, how can we live in harmony? And people do not think about that part. They're thinking about one day of their lives, and they want to relive that forever instead of thinking about the day after the wedding, because that's most important.
It's a bit like, you know, when you spend a lot of time planning a holiday, and the fun of the excitement isn't just the, say, 2 weeks you're on holiday. It's the months you've been planning and preparing and in anticipation and, you know, of that. And then you come back from holiday and there's a void, right? Until you start planning your next holiday. Well, you can't really plan your next wedding day. But I mean, for me, you know, in all honesty, all I ever wanted to be was a mum. So I saw getting married as a step to that, you know, and I mean, you know, I had good intentions to stay married for life, but, you know, that was my main reason for wanting to get married at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just throw that out there. All righty. This is a good one to end on. Your head hurts because you keep giving humans expectations they never wanted to live up to.
Absolutely. And this is what my newest book that's coming out in November is about: the human behavior expectations. We have friends, colleagues, family members, people we've known forever, associates. And a lot of times we give them expectations that they never wanted to do. So we hurt, our heart's hurting, our head's hurting, because people are not acting in ways that they never wanted to act. That's not them. They never wanted to live up to your expectations of whatever you wanted to them to be in life. So what hurts us is we think because we're one way, other people are like that too. And we find out in the harshest ways that people are not like us. People don't think like us. They don't process things like us. They're not going through the same things, the same motions. For some people, it's important to be up at 5:30 in the morning. Some people could care less about being up that early, right? Yeah, some people, they want to make breakfast every day. Some people never make breakfast, right? And they would curse you out if you called them at 5:30 in the morning to say, hey, let's make breakfast together, right? And there's a reason. So my point is, you hurt because you gave people expectations that they never wanted to be. They never wanted to live up to. They don't care about whatever you're trying to make them and mold them to be. You can't make a hockey player a basketball player. You can't make the basketball player a hockey player. The basketball player is going to show up in basketball clothes at the hockey rink and say, why am I here? You know, I'm not a hockey player. So the best thing to do in life is to say, hey, the basketball player is a basketball player. I'm not going to put any expectations on them for whatever reason. And let that be that, and live in peace, knowing that, hey, I don't put expectations on people they don't want to be.
So good and so important, and something I think we're all guilty of somewhere along our journey until we come to realize that only brings pain, and expectations leads to disappointment. I think that's the saying, something around that. So it's a great, really important topic to delve into. All right, JC, would you like to wrap up around masculine honor? Is there anything else we haven't touched on, or anything that needs to be said that, you know, can encapsulate masculine honor and preserving it in modern society?
Well, I'll just tell, you know, the men that's going to watch this that honor masculinity by honoring yourself, learn yourself, study yourself. Know what you want out of life and do not be ashamed of that. Stop apologizing for what you want out of life, what you want to do. Of course, I'm talking about positive things that you want to do for your life. That's how you honor masculinity. A lot of times there are a lot of social dynamics that are placed on men and regarding modern, policies or whatever, you have to ignore this, respectfully ignore this, and move forward in your vision. Have that vision, before you start engaging seriously, I guess, in a serious relationship or whatever. Know who you are. When you know who you are, you be more confident, right? Confidence is an inside job. No one can do it for you. No one can give it to you. And, don't apologize for being a confident person. Believe in yourself, and definitely, never give up on what you're trying to achieve.
Such a good message. Thank you. Wow. Well, let's wrap up by letting people know what books you've got out, where they can find you, where they can find your books, and anything else you'd need to drop into this part of the show.
Yes, absolutely. So for the men, I have a book called When Men Were Men. It's available on Amazon.com. You can just type that in. Of course, type my name, Jamar Camper, in there as well. For women who might be watching this, I have a book called The Day She Learned Chess. A lot of the answers that I gave out regarding women in this podcast is actually in that book, The Day She Learned Chess. That's available also on Amazon. My next book is called The Power of Self. So that's going to come out in November, late November this year, 2023, The Power of Self. So look out for that. Definitely will be available on Amazon as well. You can find me on Facebook, Intellectual Sniper, Author JC. Pretty sure you're going to put that up somewhere. And sometimes they go like this in the video or something like that. But definitely you can find me there on Facebook.
Brilliant. And yeah, it's great to follow JC on Facebook because he does have a lot of these posts that just really, get us thinking, and interesting to read the comments too, other people chiming in and sort of getting a real open-hearted perspective without, getting triggered is a great test to see where we are on our healing journey as well. Because often I'll read them and the old me would have jumped in and wanted to, but now I'm just happy to sit back and say, okay, they've got that opinion and that's fine. They've got that opinion, it's a good place to be. So I want to thank you for everything that you're doing, the content you're providing, and this fascinating conversation. It's been so good. Thank you, JC.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation again. I'll end on the note that I do offer services. So if someone wants a consultation with me, I do an hour and 20-minute consultations. Also, if someone wants to do what I call a donation question, that's where, you can ask me a short question, and for a reasonable donation, I'll give you a detailed answer.
Yeah, so good. Amazing. All right, everyone, thank you. I'll be back in another few days with another episode of Man Speak, and thank you for being here. Bye. Pause.